Remember the Melbourne Cup job, right? Happy elephants to be coming to America.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be kicking off shortly in about 15 minutes' time for the launch of the Walking with the Wounded South Pole Allied Challenge, where today Expedition Patron Prince Harry is going to unveil the British team amongst three. So in about 15 minutes' time, we'll be here on stage. In the meantime, we're very, very honoured today to, thanks to our communications partner, Arqiva, to be broadcasting today's proceedings live to the world. So Alistair Humphreys is going to be hosting that for us today. Thank you.
Good afternoon and welcome to the launch of the Walking with the Wounded South Pole Allied Challenge, an expedition of 3 teams of wounded servicemen and women to the South Pole later this year. We're here in the Mandarin Oriental Hotel where in a few minutes the expedition patron Prince Harry will announce the UK team for the expedition, sponsored by Glenfiddich for this groundbreaking expedition. Joining me now is Andrew Cook. He's the head of fundraising for Walking with the Wounded, and he's going to tell us a little more about the charity and how these expeditions came about. Andrew, thank you for joining us. Can I start by asking you, how did Walking with the Wounded begin?
The charity was co-founded by Edward Parker and Simon Dalgleish, very much as a result of the injury sustained to Ed Parker's nephew, Harry Parker, in Afghanistan 3 or 4 years ago. I think, having served as a Green Jacket himself, he was no stranger to conflict, but I think once you see your own family suffering in that sort of way, it has a little bit more of a profound effect.
Absolutely. And what does the charity do?
Ostensibly, the charity is all about employment. It's about supporting a transition from the military to civilian life.
And what parts of these grand expeditions have in the Walking with the Wounded portfolio of the work you do?
Well, really, the expeditions are there to provide a shop window to the world of the wounded community and the challenges that they overcome and that they face on a daily basis, and the immense challenges of the expeditions really just sort of highlights the world that the possibilities are there regardless of disabilities or not.
And other than these more epic expeditions, what can we, the public, do to get involved and to help out?
Well, as I said, there's 2 elements to the charity. There's the expeditions, which is very much our shop window to create awareness. But as I said, the fundraising element of the charity is really where we raise the funds that go towards the re-education, retraining and reskilling of wounded service personnel to support that to support that career transition out of the military and into civilian employment. So in terms of how people can engage with us, visit the website. They can pick up the phone, email us, get in touch. There's a number of fundraising events and activities that we organise and run, as well as obviously being able to do those on our behalf, running marathons, swimming, etc., etc.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Andrew. So the expeditions help raise the profile of the charity, clearly, and they're funded by some large corporate bodies. Here to tell us more about the expedition itself, we have Victoria Nicholson, who's the expedition manager, and then I'll be speaking to Inga Solheim, who's the expedition leader for the South Pole Allied Challenge. Hello, Victoria.
Hi, Al.
Can you just tell us a little bit more about what the South Pole Challenge is?
Of course, the South Pole Allied Challenge is our third expedition following the North Pole and Everest. On a slightly larger scale this time, we've got international teams involved. We wanted to tell the story about our international wounded. Our allies go to fight together, and they have to come home and go through rehab together and integrate back into civilian life together. So we have got a British team alongside an American team and a Commonwealth team as well.
And you're racing to the South Pole. How far are the teams going to race?
So we're racing across 3 degrees. We start at 87 degrees south. It equates to about 330 kilometres, and there'll be sort of stops at each kilometre, at each degree, so that we can check up on the teams and ensure that they're doing all right.
And this race is a managed race. Can you just talk a little bit and explain what that means?
So safety remains the core principle of our expeditions, as I think clearly demonstrated by our withdrawal from Everest last year. We have to ensure that our wounded team members, as well as the wider team involved, are being looked after. They are in extremely harsh conditions, and it's an unforgiving environment. So at each degree there'll be a managed stop where they will have medical checks and an enforced period of rest, so that we can assess their injuries and make sure that they're not going to come back in any worse off than when they left.
And when do the teams depart?
We leave from London on about the 18th of November, get out to Cape Town, and from Cape Town fly down to Novo, which is at the north of Antarctica. From there we then fly to the start point, which is 87 degrees, and the race will start around the beginning of December. So home for Christmas.
Home for Christmas, is that the plan?
We hope so. All flight dependent. So aim to be on the last flights out of Novo and back to Cape Town, and everyone home by Christmas Eve. Fingers crossed.
Brilliant. Thank you very much,
Thanks.
Victoria. Thank you. I'm now going to be joined by Inga Solheim. He's the veteran of many such expeditions. I wonder, for the people watching, if you could just give an idea of the conditions that people will face out on the ice.
So we're going to the coldest continent on Earth, and we'll be facing about an average of minus 35 to 40 degrees Celsius. So on top of that, we have quite strong winds on the plateau, and so the wind chill will be making it quite cold, but it's still manageable with how we're preparing.
Quite cold, that's good Scandinavian understatement. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the specialist clothing and equipment that's needed for an expedition like this?
Yeah, so because of the hard wear and tear on the kit and also the cold, we need to just bring out the best we have. So on top of supplying them with Helly Hansen cold weather kit, we're also adapting a lot of the kits to the individual requirements. So people have missing limbs, people have some problems with circulation and things like that. So we're making adaptations to the kit on top of what is already quite hardcore kit.
Okay, and can you just give us a little idea of what the daily routine is like on an expedition such as this?
Yeah, it's a little bit like Groundhog Day, because we are as soon as possible falling into routines where we can be efficient. And the day is basically waking up in the morning, melting water for your breakfast porridge and rehydrating, and then we are skiing, 2 hours slots, 2 hours skiing, 2 hours skiing, 5-minute break, 2 hours skiing, depending on how our ambition is, from 8 to 15, 20 hours a day. And then we have a night routine where we're melting water, rehydrating, getting as much energy as possible into our bodies, and then fall asleep and get restitute. Yeah.
Thank you. And I believe that Arkiva, your communications partner, are planning to broadcast live from the South Pole. Can you give us some sort of indication of how tricky this might be?
So we're going to a very remote place, and there's no broadband or any kind of transmitting live video and footage capabilities down there. So you either have to be very, very patient, or have someone like Arkiva to put up a special bandwidth for us. And I'm really looking forward to it, because most of my expeditions they are on a only very low bandwidth sat phone and no contact, or we can't deliver anything to the outside world. And this time we'll deliver crispy, sharp pictures, and it's going to be nice for me to experience as well.
Wow, yeah, that's impressive stuff. And I hear that your expedition patron, Prince Harry, might be keen to come along. What do you think about that?
So after the North Pole trip, I know that he's very, very keen to go. And he loved being out in the cold and ice, and he was very capable. So I hope he can come. And if his military commitments and royal commitments allow it, I think we'll have a very strong teammate.
Thank you very much, Inga. Thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard a little bit now about the Walking with the Wounded South Pole Allied Challenge, and shortly we're going to be going live to the stage over here where the expedition patron Prince Harry will unveil Team Glenfiddich, the UK team. The process we're going to go through now, we're going to hear a welcome speech from the co-founder of Walking with the Wounded, Edward Parker, followed by an address from Major Kate Philp, who lost her leg during an IED attack in Afghanistan. She will then pass the baton to Ivan Castro, who's a member of Team USA. Ivan is totally blind. And finally, we'll move on to expedition patron Prince Harry. We'll then return here to the fabulous Glenfiddich yurt for a Q&A with the Glenfiddich team. You can tweet us your questions if you want to ask the team anything at all. Get in touch through Twitter, and we can ask the questions to them later. We're using the hashtag #TeamGlenfiddich. I think we're now ready to move over to the stage for the launch of the Walking with the Wounded South Pole Allied Challenge.
You'll hear it. Me. Never would have guessed that was very good.
He's got a group going now already. Yeah, that other thing that's on
He's trying to change the subject. Keep it going. No, Robin. No, the monocles. The wrist. I don't know, all your posts on the web and everyone's going, there's loads of people. Sorry, it's just,
Right, sorry for the delay, ladies and gentlemen. The Walking with the Wounded South Pole Allied Challenge teams.
Your Royal Highness, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of my co-founder, Simon Daglish, and myself, I'd like to welcome you today to the Mandarin Oriental Hyde Park and to thank them for so generously letting us hold today's launch here. We're announcing what we believe to be our most ambitious undertaking yet, the Walking with the Wounded South Pole Allied Challenge, a 335-kilometre race to the South Pole in which teams of our wounded will man-haul sledges on skis in some of the most inhospitable conditions on the planet. Previously, we've seen a team of British servicemen walk unsupported to the North Pole and another attempt to summit Everest. In both instances, they demonstrated extraordinary determination and courage, showing that despite injury, they will face challenge in the future. In doing so, those involved, though only a few, have inspired many, giving those within the wounded community hope that they too can challenge themselves. Maybe not to climb Everest, but something more immediate, such as walking on their new prosthetic legs for the first time. We've added a twist, in fact a number of twists. Not only are we taking service personnel with physical injuries, but we've selected those with mental injuries too. By staging these expeditions, we aim to tell the stories of those involved, allowing our audience to better understand the challenges our wounded face and actually who they are. Mental injury affects many thousands who've been in conflict, often silently, often unknown. Those suffering mental injury are in as much need of medical care and attention and the support of the public of those with physical injury. Also, for the first time, we're including the wounded of our allies. As nations, we fight alongside one another, and we must face our futures together. Through forming alliances with Soldier On in Australia, Soldiers to Summits in the US, and Soldier On in Canada, we've put together 3 teams who will race to the South Pole. Their involvement means that we can truly say we're endeavouring to create global awareness of our wounded. I have mentioned awareness as a key objective for Walking with the Wounded, but there is more. From the funds we raise off the back of our expeditions and through the hard work of our small team, we are funding the training and education needed by our wounded, injured and sick, both service leavers and veterans, to help them back into a new career. Many of them weren't expecting to leave the forces prior to injury, making the challenge even harder. There are many people who need to be thanked for the support they give us, and none more so than our patron. Sir, your support and commitment to help us raise awareness is what really makes the difference. I know you, like many we help, are a soldier, and so understand the challenges they face in the future, and understand the hurdles that they must overcome. I know you feel that the wounded have benefited from challenging themselves and seeing others attempt great feats. Could I also thank you for the financial support from the Endeavour Fund, part of the Royal Foundation, has given to help us fund this expedition. Our expeditions are not funded by our generous donors. They are sponsored by companies who want to help us tell our story. I'm truly thankful that, again, we are supported by Glenfiddich as the Team UK sponsor, and also we still have with us Helly Hansen and Catlin. And I'm thrilled for the first time we have the support of Arkiva, the USO in America, and Thales in Australia. Without them, we could not embark on this epic journey. There are still 1 or 2 sponsorship opportunities. Before I ask our patron to say a few words, I'd like to introduce Kate Philp from Team Glenfiddich and Ivan Castro from Team US, who will both be speaking briefly after this short video. Thank you.
In 2011, 4 wounded servicemen achieved the impossible by successfully walking unsupported to the North Pole. In 2012, 5 wounded servicemen courageously challenged the world's highest peak, Mount Everest. This year, the stakes are raised. A new challenge has been set. 4 organizations have combined for a united global endeavor. Servicemen and women from 4 nations, the United Kingdom, the United States, Canada, and Australia, will embark on an epic race to one of the most inhospitable places on Earth, the South Pole. Wounded in service to their country, these allies will now represent their nations in a race unlike any other. Each will need to overcome not only their injuries, but gale force winds, freezing temperatures, and 335 kilometers of grueling terrain. It will take more than courage. It will take more than determination. It will test them like nothing before. These 3 teams will show that beyond injury, beyond adversity, our wounded can achieve the extraordinary. Support your nation. Support your team. Support the walk.
Your Royal Highness, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. My name's Kate Philp and I'm a serving major in the Royal Artillery. I was injured whilst deployed in Afghanistan in November 2008 when the vehicle I was commanding was blown up by an IED. My leg was badly broken, but the doctors in Camp Bastion thought they'd managed to save it. However, 3 days later, I found myself making the decision to have it amputated below the knee. Why? Because for me, the choice was simple. Keep my leg for cosmetic reasons and not even be able to walk properly pain-free, or lose my leg and live a full, active life. That preference for function is why I'm standing here today. Although when I made that decision, it was more everyday activities like running and playing tennis that I had in mind, not something quite as extreme as skiing to the South Pole. But I was in hospital again last summer for revision surgery, and this challenge seems to present the perfect focus for my rehab. And as I've become more involved with Walking with the Wounded, I've become more determined to do what I can to demonstrate to other wounded servicemen and women that nothing is beyond you. In the military, we strive on teamwork and pushing ourselves to achieve seemingly impossible goals. Rehab can be a solitary path. Even with all the professional help and family support, it is you who has to put one foot in front of the other and make the decision that you're not going to be beaten. So a physical challenge such as this, whilst it is extreme, seems comfortingly normal. I've talked about physical injury and challenge because that's what I have first-hand experience of. But the second reason that I'm honoured to be a part of Walking with the Wounded is because of the importance the charity attaches to raising awareness of those suffering from mental injury. The numbers are difficult to calculate, but undoubtedly outweigh physical injuries. The treatment is not straightforward. The brain is a complex organ for which there is no mental prosthesis. These are invisible injuries, which still seem to be a taboo topic of conversation. So those involved in this endeavour who are speaking openly about their cognitive challenge deserve great respect, for it is truly courageous to step out of your comfort zone and share something that is so private. I hope that much of what I've spoken about rings true with all of you, whether you have any military experience or connection or not. For anyone who has dealt with hardship knows how important it is to take inspiration, whatever the source, and have a reason to move forward. Walking with the Wounded seeks to smooth the path into Civvy Street for our injured military, who can no longer serve their country, but do have much to offer a civilian employer. If pulling a polk that weighs more than your own body weight, 335 kilometres to the bottom of the world, isn't proof of guts, determination, teamwork, and an equal balance of physical and mental courage, then I invite you to tell me what is. Now, the Brits are known for their reserve, so I'll stop there and donate a few extra seconds to my American friend, a man who defines this global endeavour of facing down challenge, Captain Ivan Castro.
Your Royal Highness, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. My name is Captain Ivan Castro, United States Army. It's an honor to be here as a representative of Team USA for Walking with the Wounded South Pole Allied Challenge. I know I speak for the rest of my team, Therese France, Mark Omange, and Mark Wise, by saying thank you to Walking with the Wounded charity for their ambitiousness in undertaking such an impressive event. By having service members from Australia, Canada, UK, and the US, we have the opportunity to show the world our strength, determination, and unity of our wounded military. I joined the US Army 25 years ago with dreams of serving my country and seeing the world. And see the world I did. Well, most every continent minus Antarctica. However, 6 years ago, life as I knew it changed in an unmanageable way. I was injured while serving as a first lieutenant in the 82nd Airborne Division during Operation Iraqi Freedom. On September 2nd, 2006, I had just relieved some of my soldiers from an observation post on a rooftop. Minutes later, 2 82mm mortars landed in my vicinity, one landing 5 feet to my left. The explosion tore off the top of my right index finger, broke my left arm, leaving an open bone fracture of the humerus, tore my left deltoid shoulder, collapsed my lungs, and caused a pulmonary embolism and a bilobe aneurysm of the left vertebral artery. It shattered my right cheekbone and nose. The mortar instantly enucleated my right eye and flung shrapnel into my left, leaving me permanently blind. But worst of all, the mortar took the life of 2 men in my unit. After my injury, I was determined to battle back, and with the support of my family and friends and command, I was able to remain on active duty. I continue to challenge myself so I can show others what blind can do, given the opportunity, resource, and proper training. I'm grateful for this amazing challenge provided by Walking with the Wounded, and I see this as a way to impact other injured service members, to remind them that life as they know it may have changed, but there is still a life out there to be fully lived and enjoyed. Doors may have been closed to the nature of their injuries, but there are many doors out there yet to be discovered and opened. All you need is a vision and the will to keep moving out of the darkness. Speaking of vision and moving out of the darkness, I see the South Pole Allied Challenge as one team, one fight. Together, we will adapt, improvise, and overcome, just as we have in the past, as we battle extreme elements and our injuries to achieve our mission. In doing so, I look forward to the sight of all of us reaching the South Pole. Of course, I have faith in my team and know that we'll be the first to arrive and provide a warm welcome to the UK and the Commonwealth. So now, I'd like to ask Prince Harry to say a few words. Thank you.
Ivan, thank you very much, less the last bit. So, here we are again, Inga Solheim, the Norwegian slave driver / heavy snorer. Our leaders, Ed Parker and Simon Dalglish, they who share a mere follicle between them. And some new friends, the stars of the show, the men and women of the Walking with the Wounded South Pole Allied Challenge. In 3 short years, Walking with the Wounded has come from a wonderful, faintly mad idea involving 4 nutters, Jacko, Martin, Guy and Steve, and the aforementioned trio of dinosaurs, to a multinational challenge with teams from the UK, the Commonwealth and America, this time racing each other to the bottom of the world, though we're not allowed to officially call it a race. But I think we all know what will happen. The format may be different, the scale certainly is, but the aim remains the same, to enable our wounded to do what they and all other servicemen and women do better than anyone else that I know, to meet the challenge head on and overcome it, and inspire others to do the same. Ladies and gentlemen, these men and women have given their all in the cause of freedom, in our cause, that they should once again step into the breach, this time facing down the extreme physical and mental challenges of trekking to the South Pole, just underlines their remarkable qualities. So, what are these qualities? Courage, to be sure, physical strength, endurance, a sense of comradeship, absolutely. But there's something else, something deeper than that, something that continues to draw me back to this charity and these people time and again, and always will. its toughness of mind. An unquenchable spirit that simply refuses to say, I am beaten. In a way, it's something that can't be defined. You've either got it or you haven't. It's the spirit that led someone once to say, when disaster strikes and all hope is gone, get down on your knees and pray for Shackleton. Ed pretty much never got off his knees on the way to the North Pole. Let's hope that doesn't happen again. So it just remains for me to say to Soldier On Canada, Soldier Summits from the US, and Soldier On Australia, welcome to the party. As a member of the British team, I will have a brew ready for you when you join us at the pole. Thank you very much.
So I think you picked up on that little part at the end here. You're coming with us to the South Pole. You're more than welcome to. And just because I knew that you were longing for cold and hardship again, we prepared some kit for you. And you know most of the kit. We've prepared a little bit of extra and done some modifications. But I'm looking forward to welcome you to the South Pole. Yeah, you put it on. Yeah. Yes.
Is it on the back?
No, there's nothing on the back. Never know. Yeah? We try to zip it up. Yeah. It works. It fits you. Yeah. Handsome guy. I know, don't go there.
Luckily, he's in the American team, so
yeah.
I'm for sure attempt with him again.
It's very good. There's 2 other big bags waiting for you with much more kits you get to play with. And welcome to the show.
Thanks again.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Very much indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, the Walking with the Wounded South Pole Allied Challenge.
Well, we've just heard the breaking news that Prince Harry is going to be joining the Team Glenfiddich out on the ice in Antarctica, which is very exciting news for all involved. Now we're going to join Team Glenfiddich for a Q&A session here in the yurt. So hopefully you've all been submitting your questions via Twitter, and we'll find out a little bit more about them. It's been a very impressive launch to the expedition. Having done some expeditions myself in conditions similar to the team will be facing, I have only admiration for what these guys and the ladies are going to be facing out on the ice. These expeditions are something which I've found phenomenally difficult myself as an able-bodied person, and to imagine what the difficulties they're going to have on top of all of those others of the conditions of life out on the ice in Antarctica is just humbling and really admirable indeed. And Prince Harry going out to join the team is obviously going to be an enormous boost for everyone, for the expedition, for the fundraising, for the teams themselves, and I think it's really, really great for the whole project. Right, if you'd like to come join me now, I'm going to go into the yurt and for the live interview, answering questions which you've submitted via Twitter. Hi guys. Right. Oh. Are we going to put whiskey in there?
Guys, very quickly, all look at me. Can you really boom my camera? Sorry, guys, just all look at me very quickly.
Thank you. So,
You knocked it out of the park.
Say again?
You knocked it out.
it was a very good. You both did wonderful ones. So, yeah, both fantastic talks from both of you. So here we are now in the Glenfiddich yurt. We've got a really cosy setup here. I'm delighted to be joined by Kate Philp, Duncan Slater, Ibn Ali and Guy Disney from Team Glenfiddich, the UK team, and also, of course, to be joined by Ivan Castro, who's here from Team US, who's talking a good game for the Americans during his speech there. Your questions have been submitted via Twitter. This is your chance to find out a little bit more about these incredible guys. So let's see what we've got from Twitter. Oh, this is the high-tech part of this. Here we are. Right. What? Sorry, this is... You need various skills to go on expeditions. You need very little intelligence. Right, so here we've got a general question I'll start with you, Duncan, there. Glad to see you dressed up so smart for your royal patron. How do you feel about...
And you as well, yeah.
Yeah. How do you feel about Prince Harry officially joining the expedition?
I think it's great news for the charity itself, and it'll help to raise awareness, and you know it'll keep some money coming in really for the charity, which is what we want. So yeah, ideal, absolutely brilliant.
Fantastic. So next question is for Guy. You've got a groupie on Twitter. After your experience at the North Pole, the team's going to rely on your experience. How do you feel about that, being a senior, hardened member of the team?
I think
the others are now laughing.
I'd use experience in the loosest possible terms.
Yeah.
I think anything like this, as we all found from Iceland, it is an incredibly challenging environment. And just because I've had a couple of weeks up in the north, you know, you don't stop learning with stuff like this. And I think the moment you think you have, that's when issues arise. So I think, you know, we had a bit of stuff in Iceland that I probably helped a tiny bit with, lighting a cook and probably burning down the tent only once. But actually, it's new terrain for me just as much as it is the others.
Ibby, why did you decide to attend the Walking with the Wounded selection in the first place? What encouraged you to give it a go?
Well, obviously the two previous challenges I wasn't available for due to military service, and on this particular occasion I thought with me leaving service in the next few months that it would be a good focus once I left the army. And I needed to challenge myself and have that focus, and certainly raise awareness for other wounded servicemen that hadn't been as lucky as me. So that was the real main aim.
Were you due to be coming out anyway of the army?
No, I chose to leave service in August of this year whilst deployed out in Afghanistan on the same operational deployment that Guy was also on as well.
Okay. Out of all, there's lots of military charities out there doing all sorts of slightly different things. So, Kate, why did you choose Walking with the Wounded specifically?
Probably a couple of reasons, really. Partly the physical nature of the expeditions that they put on to be the media awareness raising side of the charity, but more importantly for the core of what the charity does. It identified a sort of a gap in the market, if you like, for retraining and re-educating injured service leavers and veterans, and really recognising that giving people the opportunity to have a sort of a sense of purpose again and fulfilment and sort of a reason and understand that they can switch careers, you know, from an injury that wasn't imposing them by choice, and they now have to change career to show them that there's still a lot of avenues open to them, and I think that's hugely important.
Thank you. Ivan, question for you here now. How are you feeling about the other two teams involved? Do you think this is going to end up becoming a competitive race?
Without a doubt, I know it is going to be a competitive race. It's in the nature of everyone who serves in the military, and you can see it here in training. They're very competitive against themselves. Nevertheless, they want to reach the South Pole first. But I can tell you that regardless who makes it first, in this occasion, I can say we're all winners. You know, whether it's the UK, Commonwealth, or the US, just reaching the pole is going to be just amazing. And we're all going to be happy, regardless whether the U.S. comes in first or last or in the middle. We want everybody to reach it safely and to do well.
Absolutely, but will you be a little bit happier if you come in first?
Absolutely, we will. We will for a moment, but I think the joy will be, I think, to be able to see a team ski up to the South Pole. And, I highly encourage everybody to follow us on our website, on Facebook and on Twitter, and on the Walking with the Wounded website, and see what it takes to do this. Obviously they'll be seeing from the comfort of their home. Being out there is extremely difficult, and just to see the UK team is amazing. It really softens your heart and makes your eyes sweat, because they are an amazing team. And I'm proud to be part of this organization and this team.
Right, absolutely.
And proud of my team as well.
Mutual love.
Obviously, part of my team as well. They're a group, a bunch of great bunch of guys.
Sure.
And girls.
Cool. Question for Kate next. Kate, how are you going to spend the next months after the amazing news that you're in for the South Pole?
A lot of time on the hills, I think, training. Yeah, I mean, physical training is going to be the main focus of the next few months. So getting out and about, bit of weight on the back, and getting basically hours in on the leg, because that's what I need to focus on from a physical point of view. And I think we're quite lucky in the UK in that it's a much smaller country. So the four of us with our guide will be able to get together, hopefully fairly regularly to do some team training, which is again obviously important for building the team dynamic. So just ensuring a little stronger that obviously we'll be the first to the pole.
Yes. Ibby, I'm not sure if this is a loaded question or not, but it says, can Ibby tell us if he ever had a moment of fear during the training in Iceland?
I think I probably had several moments of fear. The first one being the first time I went to the toilet when it was -40. But yeah, there's always going to be an element of fear, especially when we step into the unknown. But the Iceland training is preparing as well, and we'll continue to train, so there's less fear and more nervous energy, I think.
Question for Duncan. Duncan, what personal achievement are you hoping to really gain through this? What's the real drive for you?
Well, I mean, it's sort of been bandied about that I might be the first double amputee to make it to the South Pole, or to try and all that sort of stuff. But to be quite honest, that's a secondary type thing that I certainly didn't enter into this for anything like that. It's more the team side of it. When you leave the military or you're excluded through injury or whatever you want to call it, you certainly miss that team spirit and that part of life. So just being part of that again, and being another cog in the machine, even though it's a team of 6, with the guides and all the rest of it, and doing something that is well outside your comfort zone, that for me is that's enough. That's a massive achievement in itself.
Guy, how do you feel this trip's going to differ to the North Pole? What are the main differences?
Big differences. North Pole's the Arctic Ocean. There's no landmass whatsoever. It's at sea level, so you don't have the issues of altitude. We're starting on the polar plateau, so it's about 9,000 feet, I think, where we start. And then also, because of the curvature of the Earth, the oxygen is thicker at the equator rather than the end. So I think that equates to about being at about 13,000 feet. So straight away for the amputees, putting on our prosthetics, our stumps or limbs are probably going to swell quite a bit. I think it's also the mental battle that the Arctic's incredible for, it's an amazing landscape. It's always moving, always changing. There's enough there to keep your mind stimulated, whereas the polar plateau, there's nothing. We're not doing the Beardmore, we're starting about 300 miles out, and when we get there, it's a flat nothingness where it hasn't rained for millions of years, and all you'll have is a view of the man in front of you, or a view of the man in front, a white sea of nothingness. I think it's the mental battle, which is interesting, but equally challenging.
Last questions for you, Ivan, just a very quick answer. What luxury items are you going to take, if any?
I think I'm going to take a teddy bear.
Perfect, thank you very much.
And an iPod.
Brilliant. The American secrets revealed there. You heard it first in this yurt. So now, before we say goodbye, we're going to raise a toast to the success of the Walking with the Wounded South Pole Allied Challenge and the 3 international teams who are going to be racing to the pole at the end of this year. So, Guy, do you think you could do the honours, please? So we're here in the splendid Glenfiddich yurt, so it's only fitting really that we raise a malt. It's known as the Age of Discovery. It's the first 19-year-old single malt Scotch ever created by Glenfiddich, and it was created in homage to the intrepid pioneers who ventured into the unknown to establish the trade routes between Europe and the Far East. So it's quite an adventurous, fitting malt for this. It's aged in Madeira wine casks, which lends a real warmth to the flavour, which fades to a long sweetness. So this year, please raise a glass to the teams who are taking part in this exceptional expedition, the Walking with the Wounded South Pole Allied Challenge. Guys, it's been a real honour to meet you all. That is a heck of a heck of a measure. And so let's just raise a toast to support the nation and support the walk. Slange. Cheers, guys. Cheers.
Cheers, guys. Just that.
Oh, it's away.
It's not apple juice.